I took a 2-week vacation to Japan with some of my friends and it was amazing. I got to see amazingly bright lights, get lost in nature, and almost slip and die while trekking through snow. While it was a vacation, for me it was a self-discovering adventure. It will make more sense in the end, so sit back, relax, and let me take you on a journey through a wonderful experience. As with almost every Japan trip, we start in Tokyo, the biggest city in the world. Once we landed in Haneda, pass immigration, get luggage, exchange money, okay, we had a lot to do beforehand. But once we checked into our hotel in Ueno, we all decided to sleep in because it was really late actually. However, we did get food at the local family mart nearby, and I finally got to eat one of the foods I was most excited for, onigiri, and goddamn that was so good. Because of jet lag, however, we happened to all be up at around 4 in the morning, so at 5:30, we'd headed to our first stop in Tokyo, Akihabara. Of course, since all of us except one were huge weebs, we had to stop at Akihabara first, Japan's center of anime culture. However, we did almost nothing for the first few hours because nothing was open except for Don Quixote. It contained almost every piece of anime merch that people would kill for back in the US. Figures, plushies, keychains, toys, adult toys, I can't show that. All from popular animes and even a dedicated Hololive section. Once everything started to open up at around 11 AM, that's when we got the ball rolling. We went to various figure shops. I popped off at the arcade, lost $40 at a crane game, bought more figures, found 5 floors worth of adult material, and I spent 15,000 yen for the best thing ever, Mochidori Mio. It was the biggest expense I've ever made on this trip, but it was so fucking worth it. Day 1 didn't end there. No, Akihabara was not the highlight of that day. The best highlight was I got to pet otters. I don't know if I've ever said this, but otters are my favorite animal. I love everything about them. So when I saw that I could play with them, I just had to take the opportunity. I did a solo trip to Harajuku, and after waiting a few minutes, I was in perfect bliss. A core memory was made for me that day. After experiencing heaven on earth, I went to meet up with my friends at Tokyo Station, but I got lost at Shibuya Station and went through the wrong area. I tried meeting up with Pengu as we were close to each other, but he sent me this. What the fuck does that even mean? Anyway, we all found each other at Character Street within Tokyo Station and saw the Hololive store filled with most of the Botan merch I wanted, which was everything. On day 2, we went to Sensoji Temple in Asakusa. Despite it being a well-known tourist trap, there were virtually no people there because we were up so early. I loved it. I felt at peace that everything was still for just a few moments. The air was crisp, cool, enough to feel the small sensations in your body. I also took this opportunity to take pictures with my newly bought plushies. It really is a lovely place and puts your soul at ease. Walking around, the biggest culture shock for me was watching students freely roam around the city. It's very strange from an American perspective to 1. Have proper transportation to school, and 2. Commute safely for the most part. After our Sensoji journey, we went to Tokyo Team Lab's exhibit. We explored a nice park and ate some good soba beforehand. As for the exhibit, it was very underwhelming. It was a lot of projections and getting your feet wet for no reason at all. There was one part full of projected koi fish and an extremely warm pool that you had to wade through. All in all, not that interesting in my opinion. Later, we went back to Akihabara because fuck it, and I found the Radio Kaikon, which had even more Hololive stuff I couldn't resist buying. On the second floor, there was more VTuber merch and even more Mochidoru dolls. Hopefully, I'll be there one day. The other 2 that joined me went on a very huge buying spree. They bought so many figures, and one even bought a huge-ass Perona figure. That, out of my goodwill, I held on in my luggage. It took like half the case. Here is where the biggest pain on our side started swelling. Luggage. Like all tourists, we overpacked by a large margin, so having to haul it around would have been the biggest chore known to man. Our solution to this was to send our luggage to the next hotel before we check out, so that's what we did. One slight problem, it was getting late. The nearest luggage service was a 15-minute walk away, and once we got there, they were already packing things up. Not to worry though, there was another one 10 more minutes away. However, when we got there, it just didn't exist. It led us to a parking lot. I looked around the entire perimeter and there was no sign of this postal office at all. Our last option was one pretty close to it. By this point, it was 15 minutes before closing, so we were on double time. I had to go and plead with the attendant since she couldn't speak English well and I was the only one with enough Japanese conversational knowledge. The guy who loaded everything in the truck saw our luggage and had the most exasperated sigh. I felt so bad. With that out the way, we decided to treat ourselves to a gourmet meal at Wendy's. It was actually really good. There was one place I wanted to visit before we left for Kyoto, Odaiba. I was on the hunt for the giant Gundam in Diver City, so at 5 in the morning while everyone was still snoozing, I got up and headed straight for the station. Going early in the morning was a very surreal experience. There were some people here and there, but it was relatively calm. On the trains, just for a few moments, I felt true peace. The sound of the rails, the jingles of the station, looking out into the scenery, nothing else seemed to matter at that point. Every train I went on felt like I was in my own loading screen.
On the hunt for a unicorn Gundam statue.
Finally, at 6 in the morning, I arrived at Odaiba and saw the large Gundam in all its glory. It was unfortunate that I couldn't see it be flashy, but it was still amazing to see up close. After my little side quest, it was time to head to Kyoto, the traditional capital of Japan. Kyoto was the most beautiful city I've ever experienced. It was the exact opposite of Tokyo, exchanging pretty lights and overstimulation for a more calmer, monotonic atmosphere. We stopped by an udon shop that was disguised as a traditional Japanese house. Nothing beats going to local restaurants. The noodles were so good and the broth was extremely savory. The workers were extremely sweet too. The next day was what I was excited for the most, climbing Fushimi Inari Shrine. With all 30,000 steps bestowed with thousands of torii gates, shrines of foxes, and a feeling you can't get anywhere else, I finally got to try wagyu from a vendor and ate my favorite food, takoyaki. After some time climbing the shrine, you're greeted with a stunning view of Kyoto. It makes it feel like you're almost there, only to realize you're only 20% of the way there. So after a lot of climbing and seeing God's ray, I made it to the top, only to realize I had to go back down. It was also really wet too, so I had to be extra careful not to slip, fall, and die. Fushimi Inari Shrine was a trial to test my physical and mental capacity. I think I passed. On my way down, I encountered cats. Look at them. Look at them! About the wagyu I mentioned earlier, it was sold right outside the shrine. It was really good, but I wouldn't pay the extra premium for it again. We also went to Kiyomizu-dera, however the famous balcony was under construction, so there wasn't much to see except thousands of people. Next on the list was the bamboo forest. It was slightly out the way since it was on the other side of Kyoto from our accommodation, but when we made it, it was very stunning to see all the lights shine through the foliage of the bamboo. While it was very short, the walk back was really nice and we went through some local roads to get back to the station. The next day was a trip to Osaka. When we got to Osaka Station, I realized that the Pokemon Center was right next to it, so naturally I had to go. There was so much good merch there and a ton of plushies. I bought a pencil case, which I thought looked cute, and a couple of plushies for my buddy back home with a huge Pikachu collection. It was a small pop-up shop, however the entire floor was crowded. I bought a few things and I had to circle around the store twice to check out. It was that busy. Now, I wasn't here just for the Pokemon Center. No, I was here for the Dotonburi's famous takoyaki stands, and my lordy did it deliver. I went to a specific stand that had a cute song playing in the background and I was bobbing to it. When I got my takoyaki, I was sent to the furthest depths of Flavortown. Guy Fieri couldn't even find me. I saw Dotonburi as an Americanized version of a Japanese city. It had all the bells and whistles of a normal Japanese city with exuberant science and architecture, but it also had the hustle and bustle of American cities. It's a little hard to explain without showing it, but I hope that makes sense. Our last few days in Kyoto weren't the most eventful. We walked through Ginkaku and Kinkaku Temple, which both had excellent views and a very peaceful environment. Kinkaku had a stand where you could hang up your wishes. One of them hoped that their daughter obtained their green card to the US, and one of them hoped that their favorite manga got turned into an anime. Our next big stop was Yamanochi. Looking at the map, this was in the middle of nowhere in Japan, but Yamanochi was famous for the snow monkeys that bathed in hot springs. When I was planning this a while back, I knew I had to go. We stopped at Nagano Station and took a 30-minute bus ride all the way to this remote town which had our accommodation. Once we got there, we were greeted with this extraordinarily nice lady who couldn't speak much English, but I was here to save the day, so it was fine. On our first night, all of us got really hungry, so we hunted for the nearest restaurant that was open. Unfortunately for us, there was no konbini nearby. The only thing open nearby was a sushi restaurant run by one guy, and when it's run by one guy, you know that shit is going to be banging. So, in the literal darkness through snow and ice, we trekked down to this restaurant. I almost slipped and fell on this very steep ledge we had to go down on. I was absolutely terrified of slipping and busting my ass, but it was so worth it because that sushi was the best sushi I ever had. We got separate platters of sushi and we bought one giant platter of sashimi that had the rice at the bottom and the fish at the top with wasabi on top. Wasabi spice is so different and it tastes so weird. Overall, the sushi was top tier, and I don't think I can have any other type of sushi after that. The next day comes and it was off to Monkey Land. The thing about this place is that it's a 30-minute hike to get to the actual venue. There was so much snow and ice that this made the walk just a little less than an hour. Before our hike though, we stopped by the nearby cafe to get food beforehand. I got this paper-thin pizza that the moment I tried to pick up a slice, it just fell apart. It was still good though. I also got a monkey marshmallow coffee. He later melted into the coffee. The trek to the monkeys wasn't actually that bad. It was mostly a flat surface. However, there were little to no railings whatsoever that would drop you into the abyss. So it was up to you to be careful you didn't slip, fall, and die. There was literally one railing and it was up a slope that had the slipperiest ice known to man that if you didn't grab onto the railing, you were going to fall, even if you had boots. When we finally got up to the monkey palace, there were already many of them running around the area. They seemed very comfortable with people and they never got angry at humans taking pictures. We even saw one of them bathe with another dude in a hot spring nearby. I didn't know they was chill like that. It was really cool seeing all the monkeys chilling in the hot spring, minding their own business. You could get really up close with a lot of them. Some of them even posed for photos like this one. The view itself was breathtaking, seeing all the snowy mountains and all the monkeys traversing it like it was nothing. With that being said, it was still hella cold and my hands were freezing. All in all, a very worthwhile hike. Because there was so little to do in Yamanochi, we headed back to Nagano to send our luggage and also explore around. I lost the democratic vote of 3-1, so we decided to get Japanese curry at a Koko curry house. Here's the thing, I don't like curry. I've always looked at it like diarrhea on a plate. I got a katsu rice plate with cheese curry and objectively it wasn't bad, but my little bitty tongue started to feel very strange and my stomach was churning. Later that day, we checked the ingredients only to realize that the first ingredient was peanut butter. As you probably guessed, I'm allergic to peanuts. Well shit. It only took me a couple of hours to recover though. With the trip coming to a close, we said goodbye to the snow monkeys and was well on our way back to Tokyo. This was around Christmas time too, so we wanted to experience true Japanese culture and get KFC for Christmas. Never in my life would I have thought that I needed a reservation to get KFC. We eventually scoured around Shinbashi for a KFC without a reservation and most of the items there were sold out. Here's a picture of our Christmas meal. It wasn't that good to be honest. The fries tasted awful and the chicken was the soggiest thing I've had. But I can't let food go to waste, so I ate most of it. My last few days consisted of me playing Dance Rush Stardom and other rhythm games. To end things off, I got Ichiran Ramen for the last time, and with that came a close to the Japan arc. Japan is a very beautiful country, and everything I've done there has me clawing back for more. There was so much I did that I can't list it all in this video. I loved being able to go virtually anywhere I wanted through the public transport system, a drastic difference from the US where you need a car to go anywhere. It was amazing immersing myself in all the neon lights of Tokyo, listening to city pop music or any sort of main character music while coursing through the streets of Tokyo is an unforgettable vibe. Kyoto was a great relaxing spot for all of us to chill out and enjoy ourselves. The culture was built into the city, but it doesn't leave out some of the glamour of modern Japan. Osaka felt a lot more at home with the US city vibe and the food there was excellent. Yamanochi was a taste of rural Japan where everything is mostly nature and very few modern delicacies. Japan will be unforgettable for me. I have seen, felt, and experienced so many different things I would have never gone to back in the US. Now, the biggest question sprung up in my mind: would I live in Japan? If I could do so with a good and open-minded job, I would in a heartbeat. The biggest and scariest thing about living in Japan is its work culture. It's admirable seeing everyone put their ego aside and do their jobs to the fullest, especially at service jobs, but it doesn't accurately reflect the work culture. Any time of the day, whether it would be early morning or late at night, there was a certain exhaustion I saw from many of the citizens. Rarely any adult looked like they've gotten a normal amount of sleep, and it was sad to see the reality of such a tiring work culture. Japan and many other countries too have always danced around the issue of mental health instead of directly solving it, putting a band-aid over a giant wound. Even so, Japan holds a huge place in my heart. As a weeb, culture lover, and takoyaki enjoyer, there's so much to do and experience there. My trip really helped me settle in the idea that life has a lot more out there. Despite all that's happening in the world, it has encouraged me to continue doing what I want and fulfilling my own vision, which is something everyone should do, because fuck it, why not? Have a good night.